Maureen Mahood, broker owner of Sell Your Home Charlotte, here in beautiful Charlotte, North Carolina. And we're here with another edition of Ask the Real Estate Attorney with Josh Lipack from Grabowski Law. And today we're going to talk about something that I've actually had clients go through in the past, and could get to be a really sticky situation. And it is, do I put my boyfriend, my girlfriend on the deed if they're not on the loan? And if you buy property and then you get married, what happens then? And all that kind of fun stuff. So Josh, what's the number one question that people ask you?
Well, when I do first-time homebuyer events, normally it's me up there on a panel with a realtor and a lender, and then there's me, maybe an insurance guy. And for first-time homebuyers, there's not going to be a lot of legal questions, so I get the fewest questions, but the one that I do get a lot, since these are typically younger buyers, are, is it okay for me to put my boyfriend or my girlfriend on the deed with me when I buy a property? It depends, like most things, and we are speaking in generalities, and everybody's exact situation may differ from one to the next. So if you do have questions, you should always reach out. But in this case, typically the answer is going to be no, you should not do this. You definitely can, and I understand why you might want to. I'm a hopeless romantic. Maybe that's why you're doing it. But if your boyfriend or girlfriend is not on the loan with you, then they do not need to be on the deed. And the reason for that is, why you might think it's a nice romantic gesture, they have equal ownership interest in that property if you put their name on there. Doesn't matter if they're not on the loan, doesn't matter if it was just a gesture in your opinion, or if you're the one paying for it, or you're the one that put the money up. If you guys break up, you have to keep paying the loan. They have no obligation to it whatsoever, and you will not be able to sell the house or refinance the house without them signing off, and they would be entitled to half the proceeds. There's rules in place for divorce that take care of these things, but not married. And the truth is, and Maureen, you kind of already touched on this, if you want to both be on title and you're not married yet, but let's say you're engaged and you're getting married soon, whoever's on the loan, put yourself on title. The day you get married, they will have marital interest in that property, just as if they were on title.
Okay. So if I buy a piece of property and then I get married, I actually have a client right now who he bought a townhouse, I don't know, like 4 years ago, and he has since gotten married, and they bought together another house, and they had this townhouse as a rental, but now they're ready to sell it. And I didn't realize that she needs to sign, because I thought, oh, he bought it before they got married, so, everything's for him, but that's not true. Right?
Correct. And that's another thing to consider. So again, let's say you and your boyfriend or whomever, you buy a house, you don't put them on title, as I've suggested. Once you do get married, they now have marital interest in the property. So again, even though they're not on the deed, as soon as you're legally married, they're going to have to sign off on anything, a sale or a refinance, as if they were on the deed. Of course, if you get divorced and they were never on the deed, that would eliminate that marital interest. And there are other ways to eliminate marital interest, and we talked about this a little bit before the video. For example, some married couples who invest in property will oftentimes execute a free trader agreement with each other, which means that they can buy and sell property in their individual names without that marital interest attaching. This just might make it easier for them if they're regularly flipping properties, so that just one of them can handle that business.
And you could do a free trader before you get, like when you get married, or before you get married if you have property, or like how would you exclude that person? Like, let's say you have a lot of assets and you've got children, they've got children, and you want to keep your assets, in your side, and they keep their assets. How do you make sure that it's not completely combined? Do you do the free trader, or do you have to do like a prenup, or this might not be your area expertise?
and I'm not a family law attorney, but a free trader proactively and retroactively. So you could do, like in your seller's case, if he didn't want his wife to have to participate in the sale of the townhome that he bought before they were married, she could retroactively sign a free trader agreement after they got married, saying that she waives any kind of marital interest, and then he could do the sale on his own. But you could also do before you ever buy any property to make sure that, and sometimes that's safer because then you don't have to worry about issues coming up if they don't agree to it later on.
Gotcha. Yeah, you never divorce the person you marry. Like the same person. They're not the same person when you get married.
I see what you're saying. Only people you can divorce are the people that you marry. But
yeah, but people turn ugly.
Yeah.
I had I think I told you about this one, but I'll tell our audience. I actually, a couple years ago, represented a couple. They weren't married, but they bought a house together, and they were in foreclosure because they had an argument, and he got kicked out of the house. There was a whole drama thing around it. Everybody stopped paying the mortgage because they were mad at each other, which I thought was like, okay, well, that's not the smartest thing to do. Like, because you're going to lose the house and all the equity. They called me in basically at the last second. We got the foreclosure stopped because we put it on the market, and we like met with the foreclosure people. We got it under contract, and it went through title, and turns out she was still married to somebody else. So at that point, the husband didn't know, and she never, we do seller and buyer information sheets. She marked single on that when they bought. And obviously they don't do a complete background check on her. You just go by honesty. But she ended up being married to her first husband. Still, they had never gotten a divorce. So unbeknownst to the boyfriend, there's a third person now that owns this house, right?
Yeah, and I think people don't realize how critical this point is when it comes to real estate in North Carolina. I had a similar situation where the seller was on the deed by herself. In the seller information sheet, she marked single. But then because this is such an important topic, at closing again, I have them sign a sworn affidavit, a notarized document that says that their current marital status is single. And when I brought that to her attention, she said, well, no, technically I'm still married, but he's dead to me. That's not how it works.
Not dead to the law.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and as long as that marriage is valid, that marital interest is there, unless you've got that free trader in place.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of lessons to learn on this. Really get to know somebody before you marry them.
Or before you put them on the deed with you.
Yeah. And don't buy property with somebody that could be married to someone else.
Now, of course, if they're on the loan, there's more security there because they're still obligated to pay. But yeah, if someone's on the loan and they're not married to you, they don't have any business being on your deed.
Yeah, we find a lot of times, and it's a lot of single women now. I mean, maybe it is just because I'm a woman and I work with a lot of single women, but they have boyfriends that don't make enough money or have bad credit, so they're not getting on the loan, and then they want to put them on the deed. And it's a personal decision. Like, I'm not going to tell you not to do it, but it's not a good idea.
And that's my response. You can do it. I would advise that you don't.
Yeah. And this is the reason why, because.
And I would make sure you understand why, because if it comes up down the line or down the road, you should be aware of what kind of risks you're taking.
Yeah. He gets 50% and he doesn't have to put a penny into it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, anything else along this like fun little crazy part of real estate law that kind of intersects family law?
No, not on this point, I don't think.
Okay. So just to recap, if you're single or you're in a relationship with somebody and they are not going to be on the loan, it is not a good idea to put them on the deed unless I don't even know what you could do to protect yourself. There's nothing, right?
It's funny I say this, but actually when I bought my house in 2020, I put my fiance on the deed before we got married. To be fair, our wedding was 2 weeks later.
Okay.
So I felt pretty good about it.
You felt good about it. But he's also contributing, right? Like, is he on the loan? So
yeah, he wasn't originally, but we ended up putting the loan in both our names. So
I guess being on the loan puts skin in the game. Like, if the other person doesn't have any skin in the game, then they don't really, I don't want to say deserve, but like you need to protect your financial interests. Like, the romanticism about it is all great in the beginning, but when it comes down to brass tacks, if you decide that you're not going to be with this person anymore, they've got a lot of leverage over you if they're on the deed and not on the loan.
Yeah, and they don't really have any obligations either. If they decide to walk away and stop paying, it's not like their credit's going to get hit.
Yeah, it's yours.
Nothing damning to them. They can walk away and wipe their hands clean.
And they could potentially get the house in the divorce, or I don't know. There could be things like in my situation, when they had an argument, she actually got a restraining order and he had to leave. He couldn't even come home. When the people that I helped that were in foreclosure, they were so angry with each other that she had gotten a restraining order and he had to live in a hotel and he couldn't even come home. And she had every right to that house, even though she wasn't on the loan and wasn't paying the mortgage. He wasn't even allowed to live there, so it could get a little sticky wicky, I think. And it does. But anyway.
Always ask a professional before you make a decision. So
yeah, exactly. Call Josh or me. I can't give you legal advice, but I can give you don't do that advice. Okay. Maureen Mahood, broker owner, Sell Your Home Charlotte, here in beautiful Charlotte, North Carolina. If you like this content, we are trying to do these videos as much as possible, with our busy schedules, but it is great content. And Josh, sign yourself off.
Yep, Josh Lipack here with Grabowski Law in South Park, Charlotte. Feel free to call or text anytime, 704-620-2529. We're
going to have all our contact information in here, and everybody have a great holiday, and we will see you on the next video. Thanks so much. Bye, Charlotte.